Welcome back. It's a terrific Tuesday. I don't know how terrific it is by you, but it's terrific here in New York City. And terrific if you're interested in the markets, up about 600 now as we breeze right through hour two. And there's all kinds of crap going on around the world. And right here in New York City, in the Big Apple, probably the best defense attorney around, criminal defense lawyer Jeffrey Lichtman joins us right now, along with Frank Morano. Jeff, it just seems like the lockdown to me is causing people to get in individual confrontations. Now we have a white woman who's allegedly liberal calling the cops on a black guy for not having his dog on a leash. Is it getting this bad?
No. It's got about 20% of that, John, but it's good. 20 is good.
That's what I got from the quick briefing.
What it was a white, I'm presuming an Upper East Side liberal, uptight woman in finance had the temerity to try to take her dog off the leash at Central Park. And there was this black fellow. Am I allowed to say black, or is that politically incorrect now? African American. I'm not sure what the appropriate word is now, but a black man was there and said, "Hey, lady, put your dog on the leash." And she refused, and he asked her again nicely, very politely, and the woman just completely flipped out, whipped out her phone, and started calling the police, saying that an African-American man, she actually warned him beforehand and said, "I'm going to tell the police that an African-American man is threatening to kill me." And it's like, the guy is like, "What?" So she called up, and as she's struggling to call the police on this guy who's doing nothing and telling the police that an African-American man was trying to kill her, she's literally choking her dog to death, who wasn't on the leash, so she has to hold him by the collar, and the poor dog. And from what I've learned, actually, is that this woman had an Instagram page for the dog alone, which is what liberals do. They love that kind of stuff. And the dog was constantly nearly getting killed. So I think this is one of these crazy women that's sort of trying to kill the dog to get attention or get the dog sick. She ended up giving the dog back yesterday when all of this hit the fan. I don't understand what one had to do with the other, why the fact that she tried to get a black man lynched in 2020 required her to give the dog back. But, people that don't care about animals, they view an animal as just, like a purse or a bag. And that's pretty much what happened. So that was the end of it. This woman got, I think she's on paid leave from her finance firm, and her life has been destroyed. She basically can't leave her apartment, otherwise she'll get pelted with rotten fruit and vegetables, I assume. And my feeling is, look, you're in the park. I'm a huge dog lover. You're in the park. You have to have your dog on a leash. Have your dog on the leash. I know that people say to me when I see them when their dogs are off, well, my dog will never hurt you, but that's not the point. My dog may not be comfortable to attack your dog. And that's why the dogs need to be on leashes. But these dog people are such complete jackasses. They think that they're above the law. So I felt bad for the guy who obviously nearly got shot to death by the NYPD. But I also feel that the woman, even though she is an utter disgusting animal, beast, and that's actually not fair to the animals. She's much lower than that. Her life has been destroyed, and I feel like, I don't know that the punishment really fit the crime here, but I do enjoy the fact that it's liberal on liberal destroying each other. I think we should all applaud that.
Well, to me, this really shouldn't be a political issue, but for the fact, almost like with the Biden situation on Friday, but for the fact that this woman has tied herself to a movement that is so embroiled with identity politics, and yet when she sees a black man approaching her, her knee-jerk reaction is to call the police and say that person is threatening to kill her. But Jeff, I do wonder, she said, Amy is this woman's name, although in the video they refer to her as a Karen, but Amy had claimed that she felt threatened because she didn't know what the dog treats that the black male Christian was giving her dog were made out of. Is that any sort of a defense to this from what you can see?
I mean, it's a defense to part of it, because I actually read his tweet where he said, if you're not going to leash your dog, I'm going to do what I always do in situations like this. And he pulls out a dog treat to try to get the dog to come to her. So she freaked out because she thought her dog was going to run away, and she didn't know this guy wasn't going to try to kill her dog. But that's her fault because she doesn't have the dog on the leash. So it's not much of a defense, and it's certainly not a defense to the fact that she's saying, I'm going to tell the police that an African American. What does that have to do with anything? So I thought that was just creepy beyond belief. And I just, again, feel that she might have been having a bad day. She seems like a completely disgusting, horrible person. So I can't say that I'm not enjoying the fact that her life is destroyed. But if it was just one bad day, it seems a little harsh. It's pretty much of a harsh punishment for what she did.
Hey, Jeff, let me try this again. So I understand that the guy is a bird watcher, and he goes to the park frequently. And the part of the park is called the Ramble. So he's probably a non-violent guy. Now, you just said he offered the dog a treat to try to, like, win him over, right?
Yes.
And the lady's alleging that he threatened to kill her dog. There's a big disparity there.
And she has apologized. Like all these people, after their lives are ruined, that's when they do their apologizing. But Jeff, it's no secret also you're a big student and a very vocal critic of what's happening in the Middle East, particularly as it relates to Iran. Now, Iran has got very little attention today and yesterday, but Iran made a trip into our hemisphere, delivering oil, not to us, but to the people and the government of Venezuela, they went from being the wealthiest nation in South America to the poorest, having the cheapest oil prices, to now having among the most expensive. So Iran was riding to the rescue. Why should the United States, why should Americans care about this?
Well, first of all, we have sanctions against that sort of thing happening. The sanctions are on Venezuela and Iran. And Iran just simply flouted them and said to Trump, we don't care what you say about your precious sanctions. We're bringing this oil and we're selling it to Venezuela. So we're going to use the money, obviously, for terrorism, because that's what they do. They spend all their money on Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad. And Trump did absolutely nothing. He let it happen. So, I'm a Republican now, and I support Trump, but I also need to tell the truth. What Trump allowed was frankly heinous, embarrassing. He should be ashamed of himself. He should have intercepted the boat, the tankers, and turned it back. He could have had a confrontation. Instead, Trump is all about getting elected. That's all he's concerned about now. So he doesn't want any kind of confrontation, whether it be in the Middle East or in South America. He allowed basically the mullahs in Iran, the terror mullahs, to laugh in his face. And, it was a cringeworthy event for me, and it should be for any American.
So, Jeff, you think, and I agree with you, but when Trump took out Soleimani, they said World War III was going to break out and all this other stuff. They really recoiled, but now you think they know he's just trying to get reelected, so they're flouting him totally, just barging the oil right in.
No question. It's the same thing they did, we know a few weeks ago with regard to their boats by the Strait of Hormuz, where they were basically harassing American ships. They know that Trump won't do anything. They keep prodding him. They're testing him, and Trump hasn't done a thing. The Soleimani assassination was one of the greatest things that's ever happened in my life. It was that enjoyable. I mean, I couldn't stop thinking about it and looking at that charred piece of terrorist flesh for days. But to allow this to happen without any kind of recrimination, it just shows that Trump is mostly bark. Occasionally he bites, but this was something they should have turned these tankers around. They could have done it. Does anybody really think that Iran was going to start a war with America thousands of miles from Iran, that Venezuela was somehow going to risk this? It's inconceivable, but you can see through Trump. I mean, he's very, very transparent when it gets closer to the election. It's the same reason why he gave that gibberish about the coronavirus in February and the beginning of March. Oh, maybe one person will get sick and it'll be over. He didn't want to spook the stock market because he knew that if the stock market gets spooked and goes straight down, there's 0% chance he's going to be reelected in November. So basically what he's been doing the last few months is every trick in the book to keep the stock market back up. And he's done an incredibly fantastic job. The market's up again today, and it's not down that much from its the beginning of the cratering, which began, I suppose, in late February. He's done a great job, but that's all he cares about because he realizes Americans are not going to vote for him if they're getting destroyed financially.
Jeff, can you give us 30 seconds on Biden's comments on Friday?
You know, look, what Biden did was I think he was just being a smartass, because that's kind of how he is. But it does reflect the fact that he believes Democrats own the black vote. He clearly has no respect for blacks individually. He thinks that even though they've done nothing for blacks, including he's legislated in the early 90s, which caused a lot of blacks to go to jail for life. But here's the most important thing. If we don't take this seriously and stop Joe Biden, the guy is barely alive. You're going to have President Big Mama when she gets, clearly now he's got to have a black woman as his vice president because of what he said. He needs to make up for the black community. Stacey Abrams is going to become the vice president, and she's going to become president.
That's
God
scary.
help us all.
That is scary. All right, Jeffrey Lichtman, we got to leave it there. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.